Welcome back. The Biden administration's top-line budget request for fiscal 2022 is out. The proposed skinny budget includes $715 billion for the Defense Department. Mackenzie Eaglen is resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Mackenzie, welcome back. It's great to see you. What was your takeaway as you looked both at the top line and what the administration put out about what's below the top line?
So as my friend and colleague from the Clinton White House, Gordon Adams, calls this the Goldilocks budget, I would endorse that characterization, right? So President Biden was under tremendous pressure to cut the defense budget by up to 10%. His own Senate Budget Committee chairman wants to do that, and many others. And he's been called upon by numerous Republican leadership to increase the budget to afford the defense strategy. And that would be about another $30 billion. This is flat to declining. It's about a half-point negative real growth for the budget, but I actually think that's probably best case scenario given the politics around this issue.
The budget request is one thing, and the real budget and the real authorization is the more important thing. We'll hit on that in a moment. But what do you look for, what will you look for when the White House puts out the actual detail of the budget? Sounds like it's coming not till sometime next month.
That's right. So I wouldn't expect, as is typical, a 5-year defense budget, right? All indicators are that they're swamped, they're overwhelmed, that not just that defense is not a priority, but actually getting the budget created is not a high priority right now with other pending legislation. Just this week, House Armed Services Committee Chairman Adam Smith put out an all-call, a 5-alarm alert saying publicly, the White House won't take my calls. We need the budget before May 10th so we can actually get an authorization bill on time. So if he's worried, that makes me definitely worried, because not just because of the getting late information and lack of oversight, but really because it almost sets us up for a guaranteed continuing resolution in the spring. In the fall. Add to that the absence of a fiscal, a 2-year budget deal where we know this top line's in advance, where both parties have already agreed on it. You're almost guaranteeing that outcome, which is really unfortunate for the Defense Department.
Given how late we are into the year, I want to draw on your Capitol Hill experience. Is it possible that appropriators and authorizers might just start in a couple of weeks, especially given the comments we heard from Chairman Smith in the last couple of days? Could they just get going and not wait for the White House formal request to come to the Hill?
Absolutely, and they're doing that, which is great, right? That is what you need them to start. Posture hearing season has begun, so various combatant commanders have already started their testimony, and the committees are hearing even from some outside subject matter experts too, which is also great to fill the time to give them more breadth on some issues and depth as well. So yes, absolutely. I mean, the staffers know how to do this. They have their tables ready. They can sort of plug and play when the numbers come out based on the guidance from this new team. So you're making really their point, right? Which is they didn't have a lot of time to make a bunch of changes. We know that will be next year's budget, where it will really be full Biden ownership, and they will make, I think, pretty big changes next year. But there's still going to be some tweaking at the margins, and the Hill will have to sign off on that. And but yeah, they can start now, and they absolutely should.
What do you make of the conversations that are happening among the services about different capabilities and so on? Is that tied to the budget somehow, or is that a separate conversation in your view?
So a budget that doesn't grow with inflation, as this administration has proposed, is a declining budget for the Defense Department. They lose buying power. It's about $10 billion. So each service is going to have a bill come due for that, right? If you put it next to what they were planning to do under the previous administration's guidance, it's a much bigger cut. So it's more like $27 billion. $27 billion from the defense strategy number that you would buy, about $9 billion from the last team. So yes, so I think that part of it is that there's a squeeze on the services, and there's not a lot of civilian leadership yet confirmed in the department. And so, the family feud, the uniform family feud is spilling into the public domain. But it's also about this genuine roles and missions question, right? So until the Biden team updates the defense strategy and puts their stamp on it, the services are unclear whether duplicity and redundancy is actually what you want to avoid the fait accompli in the Asia Pacific scenario in particular, or if it's unaffordable. They need civilian leadership to give them that guidance, and right now they don't have it. And that's where you're seeing, for example, the Army and the Air Force get into a long-range fires dispute. Only the civilians can settle this.
I want to tie a couple of things together that you've laid out there in the little time that we have left, Mackenzie. Should we expect in the 2023 budget the next one, not the current one that we're discussing, that's where we'll see the money go to whatever the new Biden administration strategy documents that you just talked about will include.
Yes, but you'll start to see breadcrumbs towards those efforts, those lines of effort in this budget as well, right? So they will rebin funding, particularly for climate change and for COVID response and relief, but also, by bringing in the money for Afghanistan into the base budget in particular, and then of course announcing the drawdown of troops, as Todd Harrison spoke recently, that's also going to be money that's potentially moved around. They'll also continue to increase, I believe, research and development funding along the lines of the last administration, particularly putting money into space and satellite investments in particular, more hypersonic, more artificial intelligence. But it's not going to be wholesale changes. There may be one or two sort of program cancellations or extensions in terms of delay, but otherwise you're really going to see, I think, more moving money around.
Mackenzie Eaglen, thanks very much as always.
Thanks.